7:29 on a Sunday, Boston, Massachusetts.
Guys, I got some news, some terrible news. We got a huge problem.
I feel like we could do a podcast, and it would be a million times better than whatever that drivel was we were listening to.
What the hell is a podcast?
What is that? The future of radio, you jabronis.
Heyo, and welcome to the Always Sunny Cast. I'm your co-host Eric,
And I'm your co-host Ross.
and this is the podcast where we pal around and get nuts and do crazy
We
fun
josh
things.
around.
And we watch every episode of Always Sunny in Philadelphia, one episode at a time, scene by scene, and report back what makes it so funny, I guess. I guess that's kind of the thesis, the loose thesis. What is it about this show that is so great?
Yeah, we kind of have fun with like some of the greatest moments and, pick apart like some of the details and yeah.
We're basically one of the other 4,000 podcasts that are just like they go through a TV show, right?
Yeah. I mean, or one of the 4,000 Always Sunny podcasts that do the same thing.
Exactly. And today we are talking, Ross, let's get this out of the way right at the top. This is an incredible episode.
It's one of the best of the season, I think. It gets kind of buried because there are some heavy hitters, but this is pretty awesome. It's a lot of fun. Every scene is like, wow.
Yeah, and it moves, and it really moves, and
Yeah.
there's just something so charming about this episode. Like, I don't know what it is. It's just like, I love this episode. So yeah, today, what?
I feel like when it came out, like I didn't really grasp like the context at the time.
Right,
Because
okay,
we were
yeah.
kind of like living it and like
Yeah.
having the retrospective of looking back and being like, oh, that's like beat for beat what was happening in the economy.
Right, yeah, exactly, yeah. And we were maybe a little too young, I think.
Yeah,
to
to
really
even care about what was
hit
going on in
us.
the economy.
Yeah, it's kind of hit us. Yeah, exactly. Today we're talking Season 5, Episode 3, The Great Recession. Original air date is October 1st, 2009. Written by David Hornsby, directed by Fred Savage. And Ross, what is that IMDb breakdown?
Okay, Mac and Dennis try to cut back Patty's expenses by firing Dee and Charlie, and Frank figures out a clever way to keep the bar afloat. Does that make sense at all, the second half?
Frank isn't trying to keep the bar afloat.
No, he was squeezed out.
Yeah,
So he's actually just trying to start his own new business.
Yeah, he's
Just
trying
trying
to
to start an
himself afloat.
empire.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, that's not a great one. IMDb, you failed us.
Yeah, that's a D minus.
We gotta get like a music sting. It's like bad.
You want to be a Shock Jock Radio?
Yeah, kinda.
That'd be fun.
And this episode came out in 2009. So what was going on in the world in 2009?
In 2009, Coors Light would introduce the cold activated can. The mountains on the can's label will turn from white to blue when the beer is the right cold temperature for drinking. The cans are a companion to the cold activated light bottles introduced in 2007, which is what we see Dee holding and kind of trying to sell to Dennis and Mac.
Yeah.
And I should say that this episode is brought to you by the Silver Bullet, Coors Light, the perfect shot of refreshment.
Yes, exactly. I'm so glad you brought that up because I was actually going to say let's get the product placement angle of this episode out of the way up top.
Yeah.
This is a very strange episode. They do this weird product placement thing in this episode. It's not unheard of. Like 30 Rock will do it, and even remember Community had the whole Subway thing.
Oh yeah.
They're all they work them in, and since it's a comedy, they try to work them in to be funny, in a funny way, Let me read you this thing here I found online about this. This is interesting.
Cool. What do you got?
So the entire episode is one giant endorsement of the Coors Light and Dave & Buster's restaurant. A joke that was ruined, says Glenn Howerton, by the fact that FX ran commercials for both during the entire episode. So this is what I read this I found this on the wiki. So basically what they're saying is they have a time. They have like like Glenn Howerton's tweets about it. But so when they aired this episode, FX also ran a bunch of commercials for Dave & Buster's and Coors Light along with this episode. Okay.
So the customers were just being bombarded with like Coors and DP?
Yes. So here's a couple. This is like a set of tweets by Glenn Howerton from the premiere of the episode. Just got back from This is Glenn Howerton's Twitter. Yep. Just got back from vacay. got a lot of love and quite a bit of hate on last week's recession episode. Sounds like 50% got the joke and 50% did not. Although I will say FX was not supposed to accompany the episode with all those fucking D&B and Coors commercials. That's what's up. That's what fucks with it. If you watch the episode with no commercials on DVD or iTunes or whatever, you will like it a lot more. I promise. We learned a lesson on that one. Is that interesting?
Yeah, it's interesting that they didn't know what commercials were being played, and I don't know. As showrunners, you would think like they would have that idea.
The way he even says they were not supposed to do that almost seems like they made a request.
Yeah,
not
that
to
maybe
do
they
it.
put something in there saying don't do that, and of
Yeah.
course they monkeyed it up.
It was just kind of interesting because even though it is like a product placement thing, it is funny. It's just funny
Yeah.
and specific. Like it's because they play like it's so strange because they don't really endorse like they don't ever drink Coors. They actually in fact turn it down.
Yeah. Yeah,
Do you know
that's
what
right.
I mean? So it's sort of like and the way and even when they're at Dave and Buster's, like they're not showing the place that much respect. You know,
No, it's their presence there is almost like facetious. Like
yeah, and it's
they're
sort
kind
of
of like this is the best steak you can get in an arcade setting. That seems like a hilarious
joke.
joke.
Yeah,
But
that's
it's true. That's what they're doing at Dave and Buster's. Like that
Yeah.
sounds crazy, but it's real.
So yeah, that's just an interesting tidbit about this episode. It is something to point out that yeah, they do make a lot of product placement, just two specific things in this one episode.
But we've seen Coors before in like
Kind of.
Manhunters when they have like that like fort on the street when they're hunting cricket.
Yeah, but this is the first time it's specifically, I think,
Like,
said out loud,
nailed.
and
Yeah.
talked about. Yeah. But yeah, all right, let's get into it. Cold open, 11 a.m. on a Tuesday in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. As Dennis, Mac, and Charlie are arriving at work, they notice an RV has been parked in front of Patty's and assume it's the start of a shantytown.
I like when the screen is black, you already hear, well, this is an interesting development.
Right? Yeah.
It's like the show hasn't even started and they're already in the middle of something. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Which is like great writing, I think.
Totally, yes. And they have this RV here that's parked there, and it's on. They notice that it's got cinder blocks in front of the tires, so it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, so they're not vacationing.
I guess that's so it doesn't roll away.
Yeah, I bet.
I don't know how necessary that is on like
Probably not.
in front of Patty's. Doesn't seem. I don't know. What do I know? But so Charlie specifically does not like this. He doesn't like this. He thinks what gives someone the right just to be like, oh, park on someone's street and say, oh, I live here now just because they're poor.
Yeah, have some class if you're gonna be poor.
Like, have some class if you're gonna be poor. Like, if you're gonna be poor. Like, they're saying it's a choice. They're kind of like saying like it's a choice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also, Charlie, you're poor.
True. It's funny to be like Charlie's mad at them for like sort of the same thing, but the wrong reason. Like,
Yeah.
Charlie like just seems like mad at them for like the wrong reason, which I think is funny in that line because it's like he's talking about the like low class characteristics of like parking there and living there, but like he's really mad at their lower class poor. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So like to
yeah.
say have some class is just like a funny play on words, but like also just serves this class identity.
Yeah, it's like divide that he's making.
Yeah.
And this is so funny. This idea that Mac has about, oh, these are new poor. Yeah, you see, we're old poor. Isn't that just like a funny like
term? Yeah.
Yeah, because you hear the term new money,
Right.
Like somebody's new money.
So old poor
So
is
if
like an
that's-
equal
yeah.
opposite.
Like in improv, if that's true, what else is true? There
Right.
must be new poor and old poor. You know? And I love like they since they're old poor, they look down on the new poor as
Right.
if old money would look down on new money.
Yes.
It's like,
It's awesome.
yeah, it's just
It's a
like,
great dynamic.
Yeah, it's just like it's a great extrapolation of if this is true, what else is true. It's just it's also true on the opposite end of it.
Right.
You know, yeah, it's great. And so I just that idea of like see, and this way Mac explains it too. You see, we're old poor. You know what I mean? Like we wouldn't do anything like that. And then Dennis says, "Yeah, we wouldn't shove our homelessness down people's faces." Like, what does he mean? Like,
Right.
Does he think parking the van is shoving their homelessness in his face? Is that what he's saying?
I mean,
Why
that's not
does
really what those people are doing. I mean, I don't know why he interprets it that way. Like, also, what gives them the right to decide what happens on that street?
I know exactly.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so like they're like, fine, let's teach this guy a lesson. And Charlie wants to slash his tires. And I love this little, yeah, this is like this little thing, like again, where like they're all on the same page until one little thing gets them to argue with each other. You know, where it's like, we want him to leave. How do we get him to leave by slashing his tires? Which is true.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, you're planting him there.
Yeah, it's very funny. But then and then like in true Always Sunny form, like the way they like. Oh, even before that though, when Charlie starts giving them when they start giving Charlie a hard time, and he's like, "Oh, you put any plant under a microscope, and he keeps talking about getting put under a microscope. Like, you put me under a microscope." It's just like this, like that is this great like use of language, like that, just like use of that word. You know what I mean? And especially for Charlie, and just like in perfect like comedy, perfect comedy. The idea of like, slashing the tires. Oh, you got a better plan?
And they don't.
And they don't.
So they just go with his plan.
Yeah. So then they go. So I actually split this into another scene. As Mac, Charlie, and Dennis go inside, they find Dee behind the bar reading a magazine while Frank hangs from a noose. So like a perfect comedy, he comes running, Dee, give me the sharpest item in the bar. He's all excited because like his plan kind of won.
Yeah, I mean, if there's nothing to oppose it, I guess.
Doesn't that happen a lot? Doesn't that happen a lot with Charlie, where he says like some real dumb plan, and then Mac and Dennis say it's dumb that not to do it, but then they don't have anything better, so then they just do what Charlie said. Like, didn't they do that with the flaming bag through the window? The toilet paper. Oh, and the toilet paper. Oh, I guess that toilet paper was Dennis's idea.
Yeah.
But remember they threw the flaming bag of Charlie's shit into
yeah.
It wasn't that Charlie's idea, and they're like, "That's stupid," or whatever. Like, you got a better idea? And then they cut them kind of like doing it. Yeah. I love that, like, just because they don't have a better idea, they still have to do this idea.
Yeah, they have nothing else to fall back on.
Or just don't do anything. Like, you can just not do anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he comes running, and he wants the sharpest item in the bar,
not
which
knife.
is funny.
I was listening to that. I was like, item?
That's where Dennis and Mac. Frank would be the first thing I would notice coming into the bar, I think.
Yeah, sure.
But Dennis and Mac notice that Frank is dangling from a noose, and Dee is casually reading a magazine at the bar.
Dude, that is so funny. It's like she probably already went through the "don't do this" thing with him.
Yeah,
like gave up,
and
then like he failed, and now she's just like, whatever, you deal with this, and just reading a magazine.
And she sort of just like has already established, because she's like, "Oh, what's going on with him? Oh, his neck is too fat," so she knows he's fine.
Yeah.
You know what I kind of like really love about this is you can like see the harness. The way
yeah,
he's,
a little
like,
bit.
Strung up. Yeah, you can like kind of like see how he would be like strung up there. Mm-hmm. I just like love that about it too.
Yeah,
there's something about that. Like, and so yeah, you see Frank like dangling there. They kind of like not even like when they see Frank dangling from a noose, they're like, "Whoa, what's this?"
Yeah, they don't even like rush over to help him or anything.
No, and then when he talks, they're like, "Oh, he's alive."
It's kind of like alarming when he like starts talking. You know what I mean? I don't know why. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. And he lost all his money in a Ponzi scheme.
Mm-hmm.
Russ, did you do any research on Ponzi schemes?
No.
So I looked up like Ponzi scheme, just like what it is, and this
it's like named
after
I mean? A certain person, correct?
It is. That's right. Yeah. It's named after a person. But there's records and stuff of people doing Ponzi-like schemes before it was named.
Mm-hmm.
It just wasn't kind of like solidified until the Ponzi guy.
Yeah.
Do you know essentially what it is or how it works?
No. Give us a little rundown.
So basically, a Ponzi scheme works like this. It works like you have investors, right? You tell someone to invest $200 and they'll make $400 back.
Right.
Then you say the same thing to somebody else, and you take their money and you pay the other guy off with the other people's investment money as if he just as if it worked.
Yeah.
So the money is constantly coming in and going out. It's like you're paying off investors with other investors, but you're telling them it's like there's some stock stuff happening. You know what I mean? And the idea is kind of, you say, Ross, say you would put in $200, and then they would come back and they would say, oh, this month you made $100 on your $200 investment, and you would be like, let it ride, keep it in there.
Right.
So, every month they would be like, oh, you made this much. When in reality, you're not making anything. They're just telling you that so you don't ask for your money back. Do you know what I mean? And then you put in more money. You go, oh, let me invest more money. I'm making so much money in this thing. Let me invest more money into it. And then that money is used to pay off other people. It's like, it's crazy. It's
what a mess.
It's a mess, but it's interesting.
But it's a logistical nightmare just to keep people
It sounds like more work than just having a job.
Right. Yeah. Keeping track of who you have to lie to and what the lie was. It's a real George Costanza job. And
the most direct reference that what Frank is referencing is probably Bernie Madoff.
That's what I was thinking.
So for anyone listening, I'm sure you've heard the Bernie Madoff thing in the stories. He ran this huge Ponzi scheme, and when it fell through, tons of people lost money. It was like it collapsed everything.
Yeah, bad news everywhere.
It was bad. Yeah. So I think, are they saying he lost his money to Bernie Madoff?
I mean, if that's the case, then Frank must have a real lot of money.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I mean, it does seem like Frank has an unlimited amount of money.
Yeah, that's what it appears as though. I mean, but yeah, I guess he was turning people down if they didn't have enough money.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess that's what made it seem legitimate to a lot of people.
Definitely. Oh yeah, just craziness. So yeah, he lost all his money to a Ponzi scheme, and he's dangling there. His neck is too thick. He's as they're trying to get him down, cut him down with a knife. He says, "Tie a chair to me." I was gonna say that. Yeah, tie a chair to me. I
almost didn't even hear it, but it's hilarious.
And they start cutting Frank down, and then we get the great title card, the Great Recession. You like that title? Does that do it for you?
That works for me. It's pretty clear what's about to happen.
All right, cool. After the opening credits, at Dave & Buster's, Mac, Dennis, and Frank eat steak and talk bonuses until Mac and Dennis fire Frank.
This is terrible.
What are you talking about? What is terrible?
Frank, if you're looking for a better steak in an arcade setting, you are shit out of luck.
I'm talking about eating out all the time.
It's a business expense, Frank. It's only fair that the upper management of the bar get together to talk shop over top-notch steak and some video games.
You two have no idea how serious this is. I can't bail you out anymore.
Maybe we should take this time to streamline patties. Make it run as efficiently as the government.
Cut out the steak
We're
dinners.
not cutting out the steak dinners, Frank, so just hold your horses on that one. If anything, we should be talking about bonuses.
Let's talk bonuses. That's a good idea.
Bonuses? You run the business into the ground and you want bonuses?
Frank, don't be a moron. You start cutting bonuses, you're going to lose your top guys. You got to separate the wheat from the chaff somehow.
Yeah, these dudes are all chaff.
Yeah, well, no, we're all wheat.
No, we're chaff.
No, we're not. We're wheat.
Why would you want to be wheat?
Why would you ever want to be chaff?
Well, who wants to be... Okay, I'll be chaff, you be wheat.
You two idiots have no business sense whatsoever.
We have no business sense. He's the one dangling from a noose 10 minutes ago.
That's a good point. You know, let's start streamlining right now. Frank, you're out. You're fired.
Oh! You just got squeezed out, bitch.
Oh, I'm squeezed out. Oh, well, let's see how far you two idiots get without Frank Reynolds bailing you out every 5 minutes. I'm out of here.
I'm comfortable being chaff if you want to be wheat.
Okay, man, whatever.
I love this scene so much. There's the energy of this scene is so great to me. It's something with it's just, and David Buster's it feels like it comes out of nowhere.
It's hilarious to me because it again, we know this is product placement, but the whole idea just seems facetious to me. It doesn't seem it seems like they're making fun of it the whole time.
Because these type of people would go there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's part of it.
Yeah.
And they talk it up like it's amazing.
But Frank here is like, as they're eating, he mutters to himself, "This is terrible." And he's just talking about how they're in financial problems, but they think he's talking about Dave and Buster's.
Yeah.
And I love this, like them defending Dave and Buster's here, like, and this quote of the steak. Go ahead.
If you're looking for a better steak at an arcade setting, then you're shit out of luck.
This is like, okay, let's stop for a second. Break this down. It's so much the use of language here is incredible.
Exactly. They're compounding so much like into that one sentence.
You could say this in a bunch of different ways, but the words they choose to convey this message is so funny. Like the idea of like a better steak in an arcade setting. Like an arcade setting is such a funny way to
Is that a way to say like not good food?
I think it's like saying like,
think about it.
I think,
like they're
I think
not really
it's saying like it's the best you're gonna get for a place that has arcades in it.
Right. So it's not really saying it's great.
It's not saying it's good. No, it's just saying it's adequate.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's not like a full endorsement.
No, not at all. And this is great too. With so they're and then to say you're shit out of luck is just such a funny way to cap that. You're shit out of luck. Like it's just like
then you're out of options, buddy.
Yeah, it's just I love that is such a great quote. And they're talking here about the business, and they consider themselves upper management.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, they are part owners with Frank. You have the three top dogs.
This is continuing some continuity of how Charlie is basically not an owner anymore.
No, that's right. We have Mac and Dennis owning 25% each, which equate to 50, and we have Frank owning the other 50.
That's too bad for Charlie, huh?
I mean, he shouldn't have sold shares for lunch meat or whatever.
He keeps getting squeezed out. So yeah, they give themselves upper management, and Frank's like, listen, you guys don't understand. We can't keep eating out like this, and I can't bail you out anymore. I'm broke. He's like really trying to explain to them, like, I lost my money.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, you know, I love this idea. They start talking about, yeah, you know what? That's right. We should start streamlining Patty. We should be as efficient as the government. It's such a funny, like, crazy thing to say. You know what I mean? Like efficient, like the government, like. Like Mac knows anything about any of this. You know?
Oh yeah, or to say the government is efficient at anything is kind of a stretch.
Yeah, exactly. And so he's saying like, oh, you know, we need to be efficient like the government. And Frank's like, oh, that means cut out steak dinners. No, and in fact, they should talk bonuses.
Well, this is where I want to like take a break right now and just like talk about how the different roles that they're playing to tell the larger story of the recession.
Okay.
Frank, I guess, is a bank that gives out business loans. You know what I mean? He's always like bailing them out in a certain way.
Right. But Frank, that's right. Frank gives out the money.
Right.
That's where they get their money from.
Exactly. And there's also the dynamic of the government and Frank, you know, which we'll see later, where he, as a bank, is getting bailed out.
And Dennis and Mac are, you know, this was huge in the news at the time. Like all this stuff that was going on where these, you know, $1 million corporations are failing and going under, and they have to like lay off all their people that work for them. But then when the CEO gets laid off, whatever, for some crazy reason, he takes like $300 million with him.
Yeah, and
you know what I mean?
This is when, like, you know, corporations on Wall Street were getting bailouts, and you would say we could equate Mac and Dennis to Wall Street, essentially.
Okay,
that's
sure.
who we're going to place them.
Okay.
And when they did get this money, they were supposed to use it towards the business and, you know, helping their clients. But they ended up using that money for bonuses. So that's why we get that bonus talk.
Yes. This was a huge thing going on at the time and everything. Complete madness. I mean, it's just
unregulated
craziness.
Is the problem.
They sort of like, you should not be able to give yourself a bonus. A bonus comes, somebody gives you a bonus.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that later when they try to they fire Charlie and they're like, let's go talk about bonuses. They're the only ones that work there. What are they going to give each other bonuses?
That's true. That is true. This is so funny too. So basically when they're saying, they're like, oh no, we should get bonuses because we're your top people. That's how you separate the wheat from the chaff. That's what Dennis says, is wheat from the chaff. Did you look up anything on wheat from the chaff?
Yes, I did. Wheat and chaff in grasses, including cereals such as rice, barley, oats, and wheat. The ripe seed is rounded by thin, dry, scaly bracts, also called glooms, lemmas, and paleas, forming a dry husk around the grain. So once they remove that grain, it's called chaff, and then we get chaff and wheat. That's how you separate the chaff and wheat. The chaff is generally the useless part, and the wheat's the good stuff.
Yeah, and when I looked this up online, because it is an interesting saying that I don't hear all that often.
No, who hears that anymore?
I can also just infer what he means by it.
Yeah, totally.
But what I looked up here is that the saying actually comes from the Bible. And it says that it says here, chaff is the protective casings of seeds of cereal grain.
Yep.
Then it says in Matthew 3:12, John the Baptist says,
Mac, slow down.
Where's our Bible? It's a bar, dude. In Matthew 3:12, John the Baptist says, his winnowing fork is in his hand, and he will clear his threshing floor, gathering his wheat into the barn and burning up the chaff with unquenchable fire. Isn't that crazy?
That sounds dark. I don't know what that even means.
Yeah. No shit. And unquenchable fire?
Jeez.
Relax. Calm down.
That's hot stuff.
Yeah. I just thought that was interesting. I thought I was like, wow, this I searched chaff and this is what I'm finding. Unquenchable fire.
The internet's a dark, dark place.
So and then in true Always Sunny form, they are the absolute. Not only are they the masters at this, they're like the only people that do this where they have another stop down argument about Mac. Mac thinks that they're chaff, and Dennis is like, no, we're wheat.
Why would you ever want to be chaff?
He's like, why would you want to be wheat? Like, he doesn't understand.
Well, I'll be wheat and then you be chaff. Like, he doesn't get it at all. This episode really showcases how dumb Mac is.
Yeah, Mac is...
Like, he's dumb in, several places in this episode.
He is, yeah, he is, definitely. This is where they take this opportunity to squeeze out Frank. Because Frank is basically... Frank says, you two have no business sense whatsoever, which is true.
Right.
But then Mac's line of, we don't have any business sense? You were just dangling from a noose.
It's funny because, normally, yeah, you would agree Frank is the businessman, but, he was, he's becoming unreliable as the source of business.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, they fire Frank. They squeeze him out, and he gets mad, and he leaves. And I like this nice little, when he comes back and he takes the steak with him, he doesn't want to leave the steak.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
very
yeah.
Frank. Very Frank.
What a great move. So I guess we're establishing right now that Mac and Dennis are 50-50 owners.
Well, I was going to say, I wanted to talk about, how can they fire Frank?
I guess if Frank doesn't want to bail them out, Frank's just willingly leaving. It doesn't seem like...
Yeah.
Frank said, you run the business in the ground, you want bonuses. I don't want to deal with this anymore. I'm walking away. That's how I interpreted it.
It's weird for Frank. You'd almost, Frank seems like the type that to take bonuses. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but, he also has the larger sense of, what's going on and where the money needs to go.
Right, yeah. Yeah, and this is so funny here where, the nice little tag at the end of this scene of the Mac is I'm comfortable being chaff.
Yeah.
If you want to be weird,
not be affected by what just happened and go back to that nonsense conversation.
Yeah. So then at Patty's, Mac and Dennis continue streamlining and give Dee and Charlie an opportunity to defend their jobs.
This is a lot of fun.
This is a lot of fun, and Charlie is excited to do this. You notice that?
Oh, yeah. He's I actually wrote that down. I was like, he is so excited for the opportunity, I think he exclaims, as he goes running down to the basement.
He should be pissed.
Yeah. I think he does do a lot of work. Whether or not he does it correctly, as we see, he doesn't, but
to even just be questioning him.
Yeah,
do you know
true.
what I mean?
He's been there forever.
Yeah, what do you mean? Yeah. And like, because I think Dee has the right attitude here, where Dee's very, Dee's pissed off about this.
She's bullshit.
But they don't exactly know what Dee does around here. And we haven't seen Dee actually at the first 2 seasons. Dee's cleaning up tables, serving drinks.
That's true. I mean, she was like carrying her weight.
Not
the first
so much
few
late.
seasons. Not so much this season.
No, not so much.
She's kind of dicking around like everybody else.
Yeah. So they want her to before we get to her making the drink, this is such an Always Sunny word. What Dee says, I do a shitload.
I love that.
A shitload.
as a quantity.
Yeah. And so they're like, okay, fine, like make us a drink. You're a bartender, make us a drink.
All right, I'll crack you open a beer.
And they're like, no. They're like a mixed drink or whatever.
But the bottle, it's cold activated.
Yeah, no, here comes the commercial. This is like a commercial.
See, the mountain blue?
And even Dennis says, it looks delicious. Like, Dennis even says, yes, it looks very delicious.
Yeah,
like,
it looks very delicious, but make me a drink.
Yeah, and then I love the mojito. They want...
Mojito me, please.
Do you know how to make a mojito?
No. I forgot to look up the ingredients.
I did.
Oh, you're great. You did a lot of the research this episode. What do you got?
So a mojito. This is a this makes 4 servings. You need ice, 6 ounces of light rum, 12 mint sprigs or spearmint, 8 roughly broken apart, 6 tablespoons fresh lime juice, 4 tablespoons sugar, club soda, and 4 slices of lime. Ross, this is the most easiest thing you could do. There's 2 steps. Step 1, place ice in a beverage shaker, then add in the rum, 8 broken up mint sprigs, lime juice, and sugar. Shake well and serve over ice in a highball glass. Top off each glass with a splash of club soda.
That sounds
Number
like
2.
a lot of work.
No, I know they fit a lot in the number
It's
1.
like, I'm out when you name more than 2 ingredients.
Some of that could have been split up a little bit, but number 2 is just garnish each with a slice of lime and a sprig of mint, and there you go. You have a mojito.
Oh, so make the drink and then decorate it.
Fiance. Yes, exactly. Fiance Katie used to be a bartender, and I read this recipe I found, and she was very unhappy with it. This is not the way she would do it. She says you should muddle the mint sprigs or whatever and whatever. She was like, do not read that recipe. She said that's not a good recipe to read. I said I'm gonna read it anyways. I said, and I'll make a disclaimer that you were unhappy with that recipe.
Okay.
It's the one. That recipe was actually linked off of the Always Sunny wiki for this episode.
Oh, that's awesome. They're putting in some hard work over there.
I should actually give the credit there. Somebody else did that work for me. That's also where I found out the all the info on the on Glenn Howerton's tweets and stuff was from the wiki. There's a lot going on over there for this episode.
A lot of gossip.
A lot of hot goss.
Hot goss.
So she's like, they're like, no, make me a mojito. She's like, people don't order mojitos in this bar, and I truly cannot picture.
That's true.
I can't even picture that bar having lime juice.
Corman's coming back, and I don't think he is. No one's going to be ordering a mojito.
And I can't even picture that bar having like lime juice or something.
Or like those quality ingredients, I guess, that you would find in a drink.
Like they have mint somewhere. Like, so one of them ordered mint and has mint.
Right. They're lucky they have like the soda gun.
Yeah. So she's like, yeah, sure, okay, I can make a mojito. I can do it. And she just opens up a Coors, puts it down, and quits.
Dude, that like motion, the motion in which she does that, like, is so perfect because it's so quick and like you don't like even though you watching her put down a bottle, you're not thinking anything of it.
What yeah, it's like, what was the point of it?
What do you mean?
Like, why even grab a beer and open it and put it down at all? Why not just quit and walk away?
I think she was like buying time to think of something and then was like, I don't know how to do this, so I quit.
But it's like, it's just so weird. It's just such a funny, weird thing to do.
Yeah, you're right.
And they're so bummed because they looked forward to firing her.
I know, they're
It's
so
like,
evil.
Oh. They really are. And that's where Charlie comes running in, and first thing, he's got to talk rat traps. Mm-hmm. And he's got this just plastic bucket that he's just pouring onto the bar top.
Oh yeah, it's like one of those like industrial buckets, and like, like those traps are huge. Those are not mouse traps. They're like cartoonishly big.
Yeah, giant rat traps.
Like
yeah,
blocks of wood.
So then at Frank and Charlie's apartment, Dee asks Frank for money, and they end up becoming business partners. I need money.
Money, please.
And
this is some interesting information we get out of the scene.
Yeah, Frank's been paying Dee's rent.
Yeah. So is he paying Dennis's rent too?
You got to assume.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So like that explains like their lifestyles. Like they don't make any money at the bar, so how are they affording a rent? You know.
And also Dee and Dennis are not old poor. They're rich people.
Yeah, they're like little rich kids. I mean, I guess they live like on an allowance of some sort. You know what I mean? So it's not like they're like wealthy, but like they don't have anything to worry about for sure, and especially growing up.
Yeah. He's like, what? He's like, don't you understand? Like, I don't have any money. Like, like, what do you like? I was hanging from a. He's trying to. He's like, I tried to kill myself.
Like, how clear could he be? Like, I just try to kill myself.
Yeah, like, well, how do you not understand? And
what is she supposed to do though?
Yeah, what is she supposed to do? She notices that Frank has a briefcase, and he's like, yeah, I'm starting a new business. And he's like, oh, cool, I'm in.
What value are you to me? That's a good question, though.
And this like little exchange of what value, and she says, when she says, I'm desperate, I'll do anything. And Frank like kind of lights up like, that's good.
Yeah, that's good.
He's like, like almost like, you know what?
I could use that. That is valuable.
Yeah, that is like you got me. Like in other words, he's like kind of like you got me. And is she willing to destroy her credit?
Never been a problem before.
That is so funny. And yeah, and then they take off to start their new business venture. So then at Patty's, Charlie finishes up explaining what he does for the bar, and Mac and Dennis fire him. So when this scene opens up, Charlie's like, and these are the rain barrels. What's he doing with these?
Well, we found out later that he's been filtering the water. I don't know if they're reusing the water. I don't know what
for
that
what.
water
For
is
what
for.
What is happening? Yeah,
it's essentially something he definitely doesn't have to do.
Yeah. And this like way he's like, and how do I dispose of the trash? Like, why?
I can't believe he's still defending his job. By the way, like, how long do you think it's been?
It seems like a while. It seems like it took him through a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
and he's like, how do I dispose of the trash with it? And it's so funny when they're like, we threw it in the dumpster. What are you doing with it? He's burning it in the furnace, and it's so funny too because like we have a furnace.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like.
This bar runs on trash.
What is like? I should have looked this up, but like, would a building like that have a furnace?
Hard to tell. I mean, I don't know enough about HVAC, or this is something we probably could have called minor on.
Like, it's just so. It's because even Mac is like, we have a furnace, kind of being like.
Yeah, he's stunned.
Which
like to me shows like he knows so little about the building he owns. Like you don't know you have a furnace in there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Charlie thinks the whole bar is green. He thinks the bar is green. They've been
right because he recycles the trash. But actually, I looked that up, and it's actually like worse.
Yeah, because like the fumes, right? The atmosphere.
Yeah.
He's like, that's how the bars heat it. That's how it gets the nice smell that everybody loves, and the nice smoky atmosphere, like the smoky air.
Now that you mention that makes like past episodes like so much funnier. Like think about the gang dances their asses off. There's a bunch of people in a bar that smells like trash. Like,
totally.
Like, why would they want to even own that bar?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. I love when he's like, and the great smoky smell in here, and the where they just go, Mac's just like, the bar smells like trash.
It does.
You know what I mean? Like just laying it out.
Yeah,
like,
it's not smoky. It's not like a nice earthy. Like no, this is trash.
No, it's exactly what it is.
Yeah,
it smells like trash. Yeah, and they do. He's just saying like, oh, what do you want me to put in a landfill? or burn it up. Smoke goes up into the sky and becomes stars. And this thing about Mac not knowing
enough to dispute it.
Like, that is something like that is like a thing I will like bring up in like, you know, making jokes about. If somebody says something like something about like cars, like I don't know enough about cars to dispute it. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't sound right.
I say that a lot because, you know,
it's like I don't know enough to say it's wrong. You know, it's like, and that is so funny to not know enough. If trash smoke becomes stars, like, Mac doesn't know enough to dispute that.
Again, he's an idiot.
Yeah, and then, whatever. There's one last thing he does before he, you know, in the morning he puts on the core sign. Lets everyone know they have delicious cold cores. Another ad, real quick.
Old Charlie's got a lot of work around here, and I like how he's like twirling his keys. He's almost like a cartoon character. And
you can see the sign when he puts on it. You can read it backwards and see that it says closed.
Yeah.
And they're like, come outside. They drag him outside and they show him that every morning he puts on the closed sign.
That's perfect.
He couldn't read it from the inside.
He can't read it from the outside.
Yeah, they're yelling at him about this. They fire him. They're like, all right, good. That's it. You're fired.
Yeah, Dennis is like done with it. He like rips the keys out of his hand.
Well, what are they going to do? Throw the trash in the furnace by themselves? Put the rainwater barrels by themselves? Don't you love how he says that?
Yeah. You're supposed to fiddle with the electricity all by yourselves and siphon it from all around the neighborhood.
That's like a thing we're just hearing about now, too.
Yeah.
Like, he obviously said that to them earlier or something, but he's like, we're finding out now that he fiddles with the electricity all day.
And siphons it from all around the neighborhood. That can't be good.
And no, they're not going to do that. They're going to call a trash man, an electrician, and a plumber.
And not turn the close sign on when the bar is open.
Exactly. Yes. And I split this next part into another scene. So as they are talking, Frank and Dee show up in an RV and reveal they have gone into business together. Oh, and Charlie lost his job and Frank subletted his apartment.
That's a huge one.
And as it's coming up, they're like, they think the shanty towns is happening now in front of them. They're like, oh no, it's happening. It's the shanty
yeah.
And this is, don't you
just as they predicted.
And don't you love this great callback of like, we establish people become poor and get RVs.
Mm-hmm.
Frank became poor and got an RV.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know where this idea is. That a thing?
I think a lot of people were downsizing. I think this is like part of like the housing crisis. You know, this is about the same time, and a lot of people were, you know, A, downsizing, B, moving in with family, which is what Charlie tries to do. They sublet rooms or apartments. They rent rooms. A lot of that was happening.
And they already solved the mortgage crisis. So
they can't go back. They got to fix it now.
The gang already solved that. So, this is great here too, where like they pull in here, they beep, they come back, and Frank, the door bursts open, and Frank says, "Honey, I'm home."
Dude, honey, I'm home. I love it. Feast your eyes on the new headquarters of Reynolds and Reynolds.
Reynolds and Reynolds.
The start of
so good.
An amazing business.
And they explain that they subletted their apartments and they bought an RV. And Charlie's like, "What? Like, you know, I can't live in the RV or whatever, but you know, it's pretty good."
But he's good at making things work in tight spaces, so you know he can move in.
I love the like. He doesn't want to live there. Frank tells him he's not going to live there. And then he says, "Oh, well, no, I can do it." You know what I mean? Like, you're like, no, it can work.
No room at the inn.
Poor Charlie gets squeezed out of his... It was Charlie's... It wasn't even Frank's apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, poor Charlie. And look at that. They forced him to sleep at the bar.
That's great. Well, you know, he can't sleep at the bar.
He can't sleep at the bar either. Like, he's like, he cannot catch a break. So he can't sleep in the bar, but maybe he can live with Mac and Dennis?
Kind of embarrassed you would even ask.
I love his terminology of, oh, you guys are boning me. You guys are boning me right now. Like, can you imagine, like, would you ever talk to them again?
No. I mean, they just fired you and they know you're homeless and, like, won't let you stay. They're supposed to be, like, really good friends. They're, you know.
Yeah, even to that point, they start locking up Patty so he can't go in there. And Charlie's kind of playing it off. He's like, oh, no, I got plenty of places to go. And one of them even says, no, you don't.
No, you don't.
Like, they know he has nowhere to go.
But to the point of, like, locking the door, that's, like, something they probably should have done anyway.
Yeah, of course.
Because no one else works there. It's just them two. What, are they going to not lock the door? I mean.
So then inside the RV, Dee and Frank discuss their new business venture. But Dee calls it a business scheme, which I like.
Yeah.
She calls it a scheme, specifically.
So tell me about your new business scheme.
Like, they can never do anything honest. Like, nothing is ever
No.
assumed to be honest. It's a scheme.
This is kind of like an honest thing. I mean, it's not necessarily a scheme. They're just selling knives and vacuums.
Yeah, he puts up this, like, he's like, this is what it is. We're selling knives. Or at first he says, actually, before he even says that, because she just goes, what's our business scheme? And he just goes, give me your shoe. So she hands it over, and he pulls out a knife, cuts the shoe in half, basically.
It's a $200 shoe.
It's an expensive shoe.
Yeah.
Do you have any $200 shoes?
No.
No?
No. Do you?
Wow. I have a pair that's like I didn't pay this much for them, but it's like an old pair of Nike Dunks.
Oh.
But I think they're like $240 or something right now if you look them up online or something like that.
I did pay $250 for a pair of Nike Dunks. Like,
wow,
like,
you did?
yeah,
$250?
yeah, they were the Daniel Shimizus.
Damn.
But I did pay $170 for a different pair. They were the Nike Ghosts, Nike Dunk Ghosts.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. You still got these and wear these?
I still have the Ghosts. I don't have the Shimizus.
You don't?
No.
What happened?
I sold them.
Oh, really? Did you flip them? Make some money?
Made some cash.
So yeah, he cuts her shoe in half and he pulls out. They're selling knives now, and Dee questions this, but Dee isn't selling knives.
No. She's selling something a little more interesting.
She's selling vacuum, but not just any vacuums.
No, this is wet vac. Commercial power for the home. I like how Frank is even talking like an infomercial.
Yeah. Have you ever used the wet vac?
No.
Really? I've used the wet vac a couple times.
Any good?
Were
you trying to get a wine stain out of a shoe?
No, this is like at like a business. This would be like at a business or
okay.
something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They are allowed.
Oh, I mean, this thing has no muffler, so
no muffler.
It's kind of alarming when you talk about vacuums with mufflers. But I like how this is Frank's words. Like, this will get a red wine stain out of anything, and the first thing he tries to get a wine stain out of, it doesn't work.
Yeah,
he's like, it's not really built for shoes.
It's funny that he pours it onto her shoe, and she kind of takes that as like more offense.
Yeah. I mean, you already can't wear them.
And Frank's he puts on these like industrial earmuff things.
Yeah, those are, I've worn those before.
And because he's like, this thing gets pretty loud, and they do this thing, and I think this is the first time they're doing it where they provide their own subtitles to something that's going on.
Yeah, you might be right.
I like when I think it's very funny. I like it. I like it
was a good call. Because it is kind of loud.
Yeah, oh yeah. So at Dave & Buster's, Mac and Dennis come up with an economic stimulus plan to save patties. They're drinking wine here when this starts. Well, I should say they're chugging wine here when this starts. Merlot, specifically Merlot, right. And this is a funny joke here. This is like a funny little joke here where, you know, they're drinking all this wine and they're ordering another glass. And, before we start this, actually, you got anything on the server here?
Yes. D&B waitress is Sabrina Vittori. She was in Sunny with a Chance, Men of a Certain Age, The Thundermans, and The Valley.
So she explains to them that, you know, if you buy a bottle, it'll be cheaper.
Instead of chugging individual glasses.
Chugging individual glasses of wine.
Yeah.
So now, this is interesting here where they basically turned down a money saving opportunity, and then immediately start discussing finances and money and how to save their bar.
Right. I mean, illustrating Frank's point that they have no business sense whatsoever.
Exactly, but it's it's kind of subtle. It's I didn't kind of notice it. Oh, she's offering to save them money in an episode where they don't have any money, and they just don't. They
can't help themselves.
They can't. They don't even entertain the idea.
No,
dude, it's
they think it's rude. Actually, it'd be nice if you left the judgment back in the kitchen. Yeah,
they give her a hard time about it. Even when she leaves too, they're oh, I like her. Yeah, she's a cutie. They're kind of they don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
It is some sort of joke here that they're drinking wine right at Dave and Buster's.
Yeah, I guess it's illustrating the contrast of doing something classy at a
the steak.
Yeah,
right.
It's calling out the steak again. Yeah, I think so.
Is that flattering for Dave and Buster's to basically say, "Look at assholes drinking wine at Dave and Buster's"?
Exactly. I think it's to further. It's almost an anti-endorsement.
It's strange. Yeah, it's strange because when you look at it, it's oh yeah, these guys are pretending to be high class while drinking wine in a Dave and Buster's.
Yep.
So, and by the way, Dennis's lips are so red from wine.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it looks like overdrawn lipstick.
Yeah. It's a nice little thing that they don't call any attention to, that is just kind of there for you to notice.
I think it kind of points out how drunk they are too.
Yeah, that too. Dennis later on will mention
self-awareness of having wine stains all over your face.
And later we'll find out Dennis was blackout during this.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's what happens when you chug a red wine.
So Dennis goes over his plan basically. He's Dave and Buster's is thriving. And what am I holding here? And he holds up the power card.
Mm-hmm.
Ross, you get information on the power card?
Yeah, actually, I did call a Dave & Buster's to get some info on what a power card is. So I will drop the clip here.
They're calling Dave & Buster's native. Katie speaking. How may I help you?
Hi, I was looking to head over there today. I was wondering if you could tell me how the power card works.
Power cards are in replace of dollars and coins. You purchase a power card for a $3 activation fee. It's a one-time fee. Then you can add as much or as little money onto it after that as you'd like. And you keep the card. It's a rechargeable item that can be used at any Dave & Buster's.
Okay, cool. So you spend real money to put, I guess, chips onto the card, and you pay for games with the chips.
Correct.
Cool. I was wondering, are you guys serving food at all?
Yes, we are. We are fully operational.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot.
You're very welcome. Have a nice day.
Bye.
Yeah, you recorded it.
Yes, I recorded it. I called them on speakerphone and recorded the phone call.
Did you tell the person you were recording them?
No. Should I have?
Let's put a disclaimer here. We're not going to say their name or anything, so probably should be fine.
They might. I think they do say their name when they answer the phone.
We'll blink it out then.
And they say the location, by the way. So
we'll blink that out too.
Maybe. Maybe.
It's just a roll of dice. Whoever's editing, the listener will already have known that because they would have just heard it.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. So tell us about it.
Okay, so the power card is basically money you would spend, and you would put it on the card, and on the card, the money you put on appears as chips, and each game that you play costs a certain amount of chips. So it's basically like putting money on a gift card and spending it there.
And the idea is you're always going to have some left over, so it's always going to say, hey, I got some money on the card, why don't we go to Dave & Buster's?
Right, it gives you incentive to go back.
Right, and they are so close. When they actually start doing their plan, they're so close to figuring it out. It's maddening.
I mean, but why would they think an idea that works for a completely different business would work for them?
Well, I'm pretty sure they don't have any business sense. I think is the main thing. But yeah, they go into this thing about the power cards because this is Dennis's example. This is Dennis's kind of what he's basing his whole stimulus on.
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't work in any other similar locations, like something like a TGI Fridays.
Well, maybe you didn't try it enough? Maybe
Wait,
you didn't try your card enough?
Wait, we go into this thing where Mac has been trying his Dave and Buster cards at TGI Fridays. Now, I wouldn't compare TGI Fridays to Dave and Buster's.
I mean, they serve food and drinks. I mean, that's the only thing they have in common.
They have no arcades. Like, isn't the card? The card only works for arcades. It doesn't work for food.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because it's chip value.
Well, I actually should. I can't believe I haven't even mentioned this yet. But fiance Katie and myself, we used to go to Dave and Buster's. You know, before the pandemic and everything, we used to go to Dave and Buster's probably once a month.
That's awesome.
And it was.
And
like
I didn't get a phone
night.
call once. You know, saying, "Hey, Russ, buddy, you want to go to D&B's, get some steaks?"
Well, I should say
drink some Merlot.
Well, I should say it actually wasn't a date night. It was more of a date afternoon, because on Wednesdays afternoons, all the games were half price. Everything was half price.
It's like a matinee.
Because it's like, because it's Wednesday afternoon. Like what?
Like who the hell's there?
Who's playing
What
video
low
games
life
like 12?
would spend their time at D&B's?
Yeah, it's noon. It's noon.
Noon
and
on a
there's,
Wednesday.
Yeah, on a Wednesday. But that was
someone that
both
doesn't
of our,
have enough money to go during regular times.
That's right. Well, both of us had Wednesdays off. That was our, we both had the same day off, and we would go
hate.
on Wednesdays.
That sounds like a good time.
It was fun, man. The games are fun. We would like win stupid prizes and shit. It was just like it's it's good like Wednesday afternoon. There's no kids running around and stuff.
Oh,
you know
that's
what I
the
mean?
best. Kids are the worst.
Yeah. So I should say I love Dave and Buster's, and we always have like 3 or 4 different power cards. You know what I mean? Like which one has money on it. Trying to figure it out.
Like you're a real show off. You have so many power cards.
They just pile up sometimes, but like. But Dennis is right. That is the idea. The idea is that this only works at Dave & Buster's. It doesn't work at TGI Fridays, even though Mac has tried a bunch of times. And he actually mentions that he actually mentions the one over in Franklin Mills. They haven't tried the one over in Franklin Mills yet.
Yep.
Did you look up Franklin Mills?
Yeah, that one's closed, I guess.
Oh well, I didn't look up the specific TGI Fridays, but just Franklin Mills is just like some giant shopping mall in Philadelphia.
Oh really? Oh okay. No, yeah, you're right. That makes sense. But yeah, that TGI Fridays went out of business in 2017.
Oh yeah, So yeah, he mentions that he hasn't tried the one out in Franklin Mills yet. But and Dennis is getting like he's getting frustrated by this. Again, this is another little stop down argument,
right?
In between a larger conversation,
like a weird detour.
A weird detour, yeah. And Dennis explains basically Dave and Buster's system, basically what we just said. He says about the whole like trying the power card everywhere. He's like, yeah, I'm getting pretty worked up about this. Like Dennis even like kind of like, okay, we got to change this up. I'm getting worked up about this. I love the worked up like. I love seeing Dennis like get frustrated with Max specifically and like his friends, kind of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's thinking about making their own currency, and don't you love how this lights Mac up?
Yeah, it's he didn't follow anything until he said, "Let's print our own currency."
And the acting, isn't the acting so good? Where like he like lights up like print our own money, like it's like he's hearing it for the first time.
He hasn't been following the conversation.
No, like he's confused about everything, but he hears make our own currency. Like, oh, that's something I can understand. Make our own money.
That's a fun idea.
That.
Let me in.
Yeah, and they're gonna make Patty's dollars.
Yeah, Dennis names it like right away. And it's called Patty's dollars. It's almost like he didn't give him back a chance to chime in.
It's also like the first draft, like it's like the first idea, and like you know what I mean, like Patty's dollars. Like you could come up with something better than that. They're then he's gonna go out and after they do the Patty's dollars, they're gonna go out to Fox Chase and see if the power card works at that TGI Fridays.
We won't, but you can though.
He's worked up. You can tell how worked up he is.
To your point about them mentioning like the TGI Fridays in multiple locations.
Yeah,
there's a point where Mac refers to the Northeast, and I think that's like a native way of talking about like a certain area of Philadelphia.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I read this like weird little like thing on TGI Fridays because it was mentioned in this episode, and they said the way that Mac refers to the Northeast is kind of like how we would say the North Shore.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, that's cool. It's so funny, like the research, like all the stuff I have, like I'm looking at all the tabs I have open on my computer right now, and it's all like places in Philadelphia. Like I'm learning, like you know what I mean, like all this Philadelphia stuff.
You're gonna give walking tours.
So at Bonnie Kelly's house, Charlie tries to move back in, only to find out his mom has rented his room to Uncle Jack. He's basically asking to come home.
Yeah.
He's asking to come home, and you know, it's the economy.
You know, he's looking to get back on his feet somehow, and you know, moving back into his old room might be a start for him.
But she can't rent it to him because she's subletting it to Uncle Jack.
That's right.
And we get a third person pan over.
I haven't had one of those in a while, I feel like.
Yeah, and
This
Jack
is a good
is
one.
sitting.
Because
Yeah,
Uncle
Jack is
Jack is
sitting there.
just, he is money.
Now, doesn't it make you feel like it's like, man, I don't even want to talk about Uncle Jack stuff?
I know.
Do you know
It
what I
makes me
mean? Like, it's
uncomfortable.
it's so like, I don't feel I'm funny enough to handle that type of subject matter. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. It's like, I'm not, like, it's
It
like,
is-
it's so dark.
Right. It is like dark, but it is funny to watch them as actors playing the scene, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean. Like,
Yeah.
there is
the guy
like
who
a...
plays
There is
Uncle
a
Jack
like
is
cat
incredible.
and mouse with Charlie and Uncle Jack. Like it's real. It's like fun to watch them as actors acting in the scene because like
So-
Uncle Jack is like cracking Charlie up. Like, can we say that? Like,
Definitely. It feels like his stuff is a lot of improvised stuff.
yeah,
Like,
and it's
let's
like
get nuts
they're
and all
all
that
hitting
stuff.
Charlie in the right spot to laugh.
So, you know, Bonnie has subletted the room, and she needed money coming in.
But
and
Mom, you own the house outright. You haven't made a house payment in years.
and she's on Social Security. So that begs the question: what does Bonnie need the money for?
I need money.
She just says, "I need money." Now, what is it? Like, what do you think
I think
is
it's
going
just
on
like
with Bonnie?
she's a hypochondriac.
Yeah,
Just like
yeah,
the lack of
yeah.
money. Like, I need money. She's like it's like a hoarding of some sort.
Yes,
It's
a
a nervous reaction to, I guess, what's going on in the world.
Yeah, right, yeah. And then the suggestion comes up that maybe he can just room with Jack
They could pal around like they used to do, get nuts.
and just pal around, getting nuts.
That line just makes me laugh.
And he's being so creepy.
Yeah.
And this whole thing here too at the end where he's like, Charlie too, like, and then we feel in a little bit too of Charlie's like when he was a kid, like Jack used to
we
like.
get a little insight. Perhaps Uncle Jack was doing something inappropriate. He was calling it wrestling, and
Oh
Charlie.
yeah, he's like, have you ever seen wrestling on television? That's what he said.
They're talking on two different levels, you know. This whole
Yeah, they're
scene.
having two different
There's definitely
conversations.
that like dark undertone.
Yeah. Have you ever seen? Yeah, Charlie knows what wrestling is. It's just not something the relatives do.
Yeah, it's not something uncles do to their nephews.
Right. And so basically, he just leaves.
And
the
Bonnie
end
is
of-
so unaware. Like her
Yeah,
huge,
Bonnie's just like,
huge smile. She's like blowing him kisses as he's leaving.
and she's even like, when the idea of rooming with Jack, she's like, "That's a great idea."
Yeah.
like she's just like, yeah.
Very unaware.
So then, at a house, Dee and Frank attempt to sell knives and a vacuum until the sale goes wrong when Frank cuts his finger. Do you have anything on our customer here, or
Yes.
What?
Beth is played by Kristen O'Mara. She was in Dirty John, The Orville, Lethal Weapon, the TV series, Rizzoli and Isles, Community, Parenthood, Greek, and Blackish.
Nice.
A lot of good stuff there.
So why would she even entertain these two?
I don't know.
Why
It's,
even-
it's
how'd
interesting
they
that
get-
like the door-to-door salesman still worked at this time.
Oh man, like yeah, I don't even get it.
It's
Yeah,
2009.
I-
Like the door-to-door salesman thing like ended 40 years ago.
I don't know how they got this far. So Frank is selling knives, and he asks her to go get her best knife.
Yeah.
And they have their little like, okay, the plan is to cut the shoe, sell the knife, spill some wine.
Yeah, they kind
do
of
the
go over their
vacuum.
scheme real quick before she comes
Yeah.
back.
And Frank, I love how when Frank takes the knife, don't you love this little choice of him kind of like judging the knife? Oh, this
Yeah.
is it? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. This is your best knife?
Right.
I love just that little choice of like, I'm gonna throw some shade at this knife.
Yeah. Okay. This is the best knife you get.
Yeah, he's kind of like wow, like real disappointed. And the way he's chopping, he's like trying to cut the shoe, and the way he's like barely doing anything.
It's like he's like seesawing it over the shoe. Like, and
Yeah.
why, by the way, are we demonstrating this knife on a shoe?
I don't know, even because he goes, it's not even making a dent in the leather. It's like, well, yeah, I mean,
It's
you're
a
not supposed to be
shoe.
cutting
Like, why would
shoes.
you need a knife for that?
And so he's like, then he pulls out his knife. He gives it a little demonstration.
Yeah, he talks it up a little bit. You know, he's like, "This is pressed steel. You know, raise a sharp edge." He's really like putting on a show for this thing.
Yeah, and he's gonna cut the shoe, and let's pretend the shoe is a bone, a chicken with a bone in it, or whatever he says there, and they're gonna cook up some chicken. The whole house is gonna smell like chicken. Like he's really like laying on the chicken thing. You know what I mean?
Chicken all through the house.
All throughout the house. But no, actually, she stops him. No, actually, I'm vegan.
That kind of bothers me. Not that
Why?
she's a vegan, but the fact that like she has to bring that up to it. It's not the point of the knife demonstration.
No, it's not. But she's basically saying, I don't need a knife that can cut through bone. Is basically, I think, what she's saying.
Oh yeah, sure, but like it's not the point of the demonstration.
That's true.
Like it doesn't matter. He's cutting a shoe. Like
I'm wondering if I would stop someone and be like, "Well, I don't eat that." I might, because I'd be like, "I don't." If this is gonna be a demonstration about how good this knife can cut meat, then it's not
only meat.
It's not for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
it's not
I think
for
it's
me.
understood that if it can cut meat, it can cut other things.
Shoes, for
Shoes.
example.
Fingers.
Fingers. Yeah, because she says, I'm going to stop right there, I'm vegan. And he says, well, why don't we just pretend it is whatever it is you people eat? Maybe it is shoes.
Maybe it is a shoe. Good one,
Which is
Frank.
like, yeah, she's like, he's like, nice on Frank, whatever. That would aggravate the shit out of me. Like, I would be so frustrated with that response.
But if you had interjected to say you didn't eat meat and that you're vegan and you got that response, I feel like you kind of got what you deserved.
I don't know. I don't know. As you know, I am vegetarian.
Yes.
And people will like. I try not to like
bring it up.
Of
course.
You don't really have to bring it up.
No.
But like when people find out,
It's the only thing they can think about and have to talk to you about.
Especially at my work and stuff, because I work with like these like dudes. So like Seinfeld, where it's like, we're not men. You know what I mean? Like you and I, we're not men.
We're not men.
I love and this is a total tangent, but Seinfeld, they're like, it's a log cabin. We could build a log cabin. Well, not us, but
men
could, or something like that. Yeah, no, not us,
but men could.
Like there's these guys at my work, and they'll be like, their minds are like blown. Like they can't even fathom what I eat. They're like, "What do you eat? Wood chips?" You know what I
Why do
mean?
they
Like
need
it's
to
just
know?
like I don't know.
That's weird.
They're just like, "What do you like? What do you, they like can't handle?" I'm just like, I eat.
The fact that they can't think of anything that isn't meat is strange.
Yeah, it's a thing that happens. It's strange.
Yeah.
Total digression. So yeah, she's vegan. She's not eating. Maybe she is eating shoes. Who knows? so Frank goes to cut this shoe, and he just jams his finger somehow. He doesn't really show it.
Yeah.
Doesn't show
No,
what
it's
finger.
nice. Like we get the point. Like
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of like the botched toe job.
Yeah, and he's even like squeezing something that looks like blood's coming. Like he's squeezing something in his hand, and
Yeah.
like blood is like coming out. Dee does a little gag. Dee does like a.
I'm sorry. When Frank is demonstrating the woman's knife, Beth's knife, like
Yeah.
Dee's noises and faces the whole time. Oh,
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, like
Aw.
yeah. Dee being a bad actor.
yeah, I love it.
Yeah, so he's bleeding, but he's gonna be all right. He's gonna be all right. He just needs to get his bag. He's gonna go to the restroom.
Yeah, he's Band-Aids. Like I don't think a Band-Aid is gonna fix a cut to the bone, but
So he takes off to the bathroom, and Dee's like, "Hey, why don't we have some wine?"
yeah, bring it down a little bit. I don't drink in the morning.
It's so funny that it's the morning.
Yeah.
That is so funny. And I love. Don't you love that? Yeah. I don't either.
Me neither.
Winks at her.
Wink.
And then she starts pouring this wine, like making no attempt to put it in the the glass.
And she's calling attention to the fact that she's not pouring it in.
I'd be this lady, like, what would be going on? Like, what would you be thinking?
How do I get these people out of my house? Like, I feel like I'm trapped now.
So then they hear a big giant crash. And they go to check, and they see Frank laying on the ground, like having pulled the ceiling and everything out of the bathroom. He was attempting to hang himself in the bathroom.
Dude, this scene is like crazy awesome. This scene is so good. Just like that's a beat I did not see coming. You know,
like a callback.
Yeah,
yeah.
Like when that happened, I was like, oh my god, that's great writing.
That's his.
Like the idea that Frank would bring a noose to someone else's house.
There's a noose in that. There's a noose in that briefcase.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And like that's his response
to failure once.
So then we see Mac and Dennis returning to Patty's with their new Patty's bucks. When they notice RVs parked all over the street and decide to turn it into an opportunity. These specific Patty's dollars are a little more expensive than they want to spend.
Yeah, but that's okay. That's an old poor move. See, the new poor move would have been to spend it on the cheap stuff. You have to invest. Yeah. That way you make your money back.
Well, what is he talking about?
I think they just like to bullshit their way into making themselves sound right.
Yeah, like it doesn't truly nothing he said made any sense.
Sure, yeah.
So help me understand this. They put all their money into this. Is that what they're saying? They basically spent. Let's say they spent like $80 and got 100 Patty's dollars. Is that what they think? Is that what they did? Are they saying that they spent all their money on this? It sounds like they're saying they spent all their money on this investment.
Yeah, it seems like they made a major move.
And the way Dennis phrases it about how, let's see, he phrases it, they have more Patty's dollars than real dollars. So did they sign. this is just small numbers, but did they pay $80 and get 100 Patty dollars? Like, is that what he means by that?
I mean, it's a print job, so I guess they can print as much as they want. I mean, I don't know why it would cost an exorbitant amount of money. I mean,
right, but they spent less money than physical Patty dollars they have. So they think they're up. They're saying like they're up because they have more Patty's dollars, but Patty's dollars are not
worth nothing.
Are not worth anything. So it's
right.
It's so crazy right here. And I think we do see the Patty dollars a little bit better later on, but I think it's a missed opportunity not to get a nice shot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
to show what
them,
they decided.
Flushed out.
I think
like a deck of cards,
and I think you could see later on it's a picture of Dennis on it. But I would have loved to it should be like a picture of Dennis on one side and Mac on the other or something. Yeah. I would love to see like what pictures they would use and shit. You know what I mean? Like, just seems like a missed opportunity, and maybe it was written and cut. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like I could see them going getting like professional photos done and spending money on that.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Yeah. So so they put all their they have more Patty dollars than real dollars. So to Dennis, they upped their value. And then they turn the corner here and they Shantytown. It happened.
Full blown Shantytown.
And it did happen.
Yeah, as they predicted. I mean, it's a sign of the times. Times is tough.
And then this is where Dennis kind of gets struck with some inspiration here. And in recession times, what thrives?
Prostitutes.
This prostitutes thing's like, now this is like, I don't know if it's the acting. I don't know if this is improvised. But when he says prostitutes and Dennis says, no, well, yeah. It sounds so real.
It does.
Like, he's like, no, it sounds so real.
Like, no, but yeah, actually, you're right. Now,
but that's not what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's like, well, yeah, actually, is a good answer, but not the one I'm looking for. Yeah, and it's just Glenn Howerton's acting. Like, it seems like he's hearing it for the first time. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, he's a master actor. Like it, even when they were at the restaurant and he's talking while cutting food, like he's living in the scene. He's very present.
He's very believable.
Yeah.
So they think that's opportunity to, as they put it, distribute Patty dollars amongst the shanties. So now they're calling them shanties.
Yeah.
So, which is like, okay.
Like
Did
the
you look up anything
people
about,
are individual shanties.
Did you look up anything about shanty towns or anything?
A shanty is a type of
It's like a improvised buildings around something.
Okay.
Squatters type stuff. This could be considered it, I think.
Yeah, to me, when I think shanty, I think like a homemade fort or a hut or like some sort of like makeshift, I don't know, storage shed or something.
Yeah. They're gonna give the money to them, thereby they'll come to Patty's to spend the Patty's bucks, thereby creating a self-sustaining economy.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know how a self-sustaining economy works.
So, at some Philadelphia pier, Frank brings Dee to Charlie to start yet another business. They are crab people now, Ross.
Yeah, they're not old poor
So-
anymore. They're crab people.
Like, Frank doesn't just tell her this is Charlie. He keeps saying, like, my guy.
I mean, even the lead-in conversation, Deandra, when people stop buying vacuum cleaners and knives door to door, that can only mean one thing.
Yeah, goodbye recession, hello depression. Now, that is such a crazy idea because, like, nobody's buying anything door to door for the past 40, 50 years. And as they're walking up, this line of Frank being like, "You're just lucky you're with someone as resilient as Frank Reynolds."
You just tried to off yourself 2 times in the last 24 hours.
That
Again,
is really
bringing
funny.
up the fact that he did that.
Yeah, and just like bragging about being resilient.
Yeah.
And then like, in 24 hours you try to kill yourself twice.
He tried to kill himself after failing at doing something once.
Yeah. So they come up, and this is his business partner, as he keeps calling him, and it's Charlie is there.
Yeah,
he's on the pier.
We see Charlie has a cardboard box with his clothes laid over it.
And he's also wearing the Magna shirt. Is this the
that's
first
right.
time he's wearing that Magna shirt?
Yeah, he's wearing the Magna shirt.
This is I love when she's like, "It's Charlie." Like this is Charlie, and then he goes, "Yeah, what do you want?" That's Frank's response. What do you want?
He's good. They work good together in tight spaces.
That's what Charlie said about the RV before he kicked him out. No, we're good in tight spaces. I'm good in tight spaces.
Right.
And he kicks him out. But then Frank is here. Is like, no, we're good in tight spaces.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. But just what do you want? Like, D, what do you want here? Do you know what I mean? Like, of course it's Charlie. What do you want? You know?
Yeah.
They don't have a deep bench.
Yeah.
And he pulls up some Delaware runoff crabs. So the Philadelphia Delaware River is a thing I looked up today. It's a river, Philadelphia.
What is it? The Delaware River?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Delaware River is the 5th largest in the country.
Oh.
It runs Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and New York.
Wow. Philadelphia, 5th largest river. They must be very proud.
Yeah, good for you guys.
Yeah, you did it.
You stupid Delaware River.
Isn't that George Washington crossing the Delaware? Isn't that
Yeah, that's right.
So he pulls up these Delaware runoff crabs, and Dee says they don't even look like crabs; they look like sea scorpions. And Ross, do you know why? Because these are not crabs; they are crayfish.
Oh, are they?
Yes, they are.
I wouldn't be able to tell the
crayfish.
difference.
They're
I'm
not
not a seafood
crabs.
person. I try to stay away from large bodies of water in general.
Yeah, and I don't eat seafood or anything like that. But I guess, fiance Katie was explaining to me like crayfish and crawfish are kind of like the same thing, and they're not like people eat them and stuff, but they're not like crabs and lobsters and stuff would be more expensive. Would be like a better.
Yeah, that's what I imagine.
Yeah, they're not really worth anything. Crayfish. So, and Dee's also questioning: isn't there some sewage runoff around here?
Yeah,
there's
it
sewage
almost
runoff.
makes it seem like it can't be safe. But Frank says they're runoff proof. So
Charlie says there's sewage. Crabs are sewage proof,
and people need to eat.
and yeah, they're depression proof as well. So yeah, people need to eat. And then Charlie looking at Dee and just in all earnesty, we're crab people. We're crab people now.
We're crab people.
that's what they do. They get so into character, like their
their
whole personas change whenever they do something like this.
Right, they get so heavily invested that they just become the thing.
Yeah, what crab people know. You live by the crab, you die by the crab. They're gonna live off the fat of the sea, a term I've never heard.
Yeah, I've never heard of that before, but I kind of like it. Is that are we mixing idioms of some sort? It almost sounds like a real saying.
Well, the real saying is the fat of the land.
Okay,
is really the saying. Like, you would farm and animals and all that stuff. I mean, the fat of the sea, it makes sense. It's just not it's just not the
saying
phrase.
Yeah,
it's just not the phrase. Frank gets a phone call, and it's great. It's great news. Forget the whole crab thing, and they run off. So at Patty's, after Mac and Dennis get all of their Patty dollars back, they realize they don't know how this works.
Nice doing business with you, huh?
All right, Shanty.
Buddy.
Enjoy it.
All right, enjoy yourselves.
Boom!
Okay. Hey,
We
I
did
think
it.
we made every single one of our Patty's dollars back,
You're
buddy.
damn right. Thus creating the self-sustaining economy we've been looking for.
That's right.
How much fresh cash did we make?
Fresh cash.
Yes.
Well, zero. Zero if you're talking about U.S. currency. People didn't really seem interested in spending any of that.
That's okay. So when they run out of the booze, they'll come back in and they'll have to buy more Patty's dollars.
Right.
Keeping it moving.
That is assuming, of course, that they will come back here and drink.
They will. They will, because we'll redistribute these to the shanties, thus ensuring them coming back in, keeping the money moving.
Well, no, but if we just redistribute these, then people will continue to drink for free.
Okay.
How does this work, Mac?
The money keeps moving in a circle.
But we don't have any money. All we have is this. How does this work,
I
dude?
don't know. I thought you
What? I thought you were on top of this.
You're the one that came up with the plan.
Did I come up with this
Last
plan?
night, dude.
Oh.
With the DMB power card
I
and
blacked out. I blacked out that night.
Shit, dude, I've been following your lead.
Oh, Jesus. Ah, shit.
Okay, so we have no money and no inventory. There's still something we can do. That's still a business somehow.
How does DMBs do it? They got a complicated system worked out, and I cannot begin to understand it.
How does a self-sustaining economy work?
I don't understand how the U.S. economy works, much less some sort of self-sustaining one. I don't understand how finances work.
Shots for everybody. The government is reimbursing me all the money I lost. I love this country. Baby, I'm back.
Wait, you got a bailout?
Yeah, you know it, pal.
You
I
got bailed out?
Oh, yeah.
Can you bail us out, Frank? Because we're kind of screwed here.
I'll tell you what, let's discuss it over steaks and skee balls.
Oh!
Yeah.
Hey,
USA!
USA!
I love this country.
USA! USA!
Crab
meat!
Crab meat.
You guys don't think that you're going to Dave & Buster's, do you?
What?
So at the beginning of the scene here, you see people walking out, and they're just buying cases of beer. They're not drinking at the bar.
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
Yeah, I mean, they're just using the money to buy in bulk. I mean, there's people walking out with, like, whole crates of, like, bottles, like...
And we get a nice boom fist pump from Mac. How much fresh cash did they bring in?
0 if we're talking U.S. currency.
If we're talking U.S. currency, like, yeah, we're talking U.S. currency. It's 0. And then this brilliant thing, I think this clip illustrates this, like, this clip is such a slow burn. Like, I love the slow realization that they don't know what happened.
Yeah, they have to talk it over a few times, and, like, they have to wonder, kind of ask each other to find out, like, they almost like wondering who's in charge, like, which is what they figure out.
Yeah, just because they're like talking in circles. They're like, the money goes round and round. They're like, yeah, but we only have patties that are going back. I love how does this work, Mac? Like the panic of Dennis. How does this work, Mac?
Well, we were it moves in a circle. We give the money back out, and then people come back in. But then Dennis realizes, well, then people would just continue to drink for free.
Yeah. They're like, they started like panicking. Like they're like, I was following. I thought you had this down. I was following you. You're the one that came up with the plan. That's what Max says to Dennis. And
You're
he's
the
like,
one
I
that came up
did.
with the plan. Yeah.
He's like, oh, I was blackout.
Oh, I was blacked out that night.
And they're like, they're freaking out, and they're like, I love this thing of like, okay, the realization came that they don't know how this works. Max says, okay, we got no money, no inventory. That's still a business somehow.
Yeah, they're like they're at the end. I mean, if they have no inventory, they have no way of building themselves back up.
Yeah, and just the no money, no inventory. There's a business in there. Like what? What could it be?
DB has a complicated system worked out. I can't even begin to think of it.
Now, Ross, how would you fix their plan? Like, what would you do differently?
What do you mean?
So what they should have done is you pass out patty dollars.
Yeah, you don't pass it all out.
Well, you let's say you pass it all out.
Okay.
But like you pass out like each person gets like, let's say each person gets 10
Patty's dollars.
Okay. I don't know. A cocktail is $12. Let's say a cocktail is $8. Okay. So they spend $8 and they have some money left over, but not enough to get another cocktail. So they have to buy more Patty's dollars, which only comes in $10 chunks. So they will always have a few dollars left over, which will always incentivize them to always come back.
That sounds okay.
They're not buying beer. They're not like the Mac and Dennis should not be. They're not selling beer. They're selling money. They're selling Patty's dollars.
Exactly.
Is what they're selling.
This is what they think they're doing, but they're not actually.
They just
doing
sort of
that.
no.
People
They just sort of
the
took
amount
these.
that they have and they're leaving.
Yeah, because they were equating like one U.S. currency dollar should be 50 cents worth of a Patty's dollar.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
like a Patty's dollar has to work less for you to make money.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like they were so close, but they just took this money back as if they were gift certificates.
Yeah, they weren't even close, man. I don't know. I don't think so. This plan was all built around just assuming people were just going to come back to Patty's and drink.
I don't understand how the U.S. economy works. Never mind some sort of self-efficient economy. I don't understand finance.
Just like how low can you go?
Like I love the breakdown just to lay it all out.
Yeah,
like,
to pull it back. I don't know how a self-sustaining economy works. I don't know how the U.S. works. I don't know how finances work.
Yeah, like why did I think I could do this? So then Frank comes in and he's getting reimbursed. He's happy. The government's giving him all his money back.
You just got a bailout? You know it, pal.
I love this country.
USA.
Why is the government bailing Frank Reynolds out?
Well, I think it's more of like the analogy. Like Frank is their bank and he's getting bailed out.
Right. Of course, like for the show to work.
Yeah,
but
for the show to work, yes, he's getting bailed out because he is the bank. But, you know, in a lot of ways, Frank is the government for bailing out the gang. Like, it's kind of like a two-way system that they kind of worked out.
Yeah, because Frank, I mean, yes, because Dennis and Mac want to get bailed out. They're like, we're in trouble here. Can you bail us out to Frank? And Frank's, let's discuss it over some
steaks and skee ball. Like, what a cool line. Oh, Dennis's reaction, like he's so like, oh,
and they stop being like USA, and then they're going, then Charlie starts going crab meat, and Frank starts saying
chanting
crab meat.
It's so weird.
It is so weird.
I wonder if that.
But wait, hold on.
That had to be improvised, right?
I mean, maybe
sounds
like
weird.
Like Charlie's still not giving up the crab business.
Yeah, he doesn't get it. It's over with the crab meat.
But he also, like, it would be in Charlie's nature to want to do the crab thing.
Yeah, anyway. Like, he's just into it.
Boy, hold on. Charlie and Dee don't think they're going to Dave and Buster's, too. And then what? Yeah, it just ends the episode.
Dude, what a great ending.
And the episode just flies by.
I know.
It's great.
I know. The last scene is great, like, them just, like, running in. I'm glad we didn't have to see too much success or failure between, like, you know, all the business operation not working. Like, I'm glad we didn't have to see it. We just kind of, like, heard about it.
Yeah, definitely. So, Russ, who's your favorite character this episode?
Oh, my favorite character is, I'm going to say Frank.
Yeah, I'm going Frank, too.
I mean, it's Frank by a long shot, but it's also fun to see Uncle Jack. So I almost gave it to him.
Maybe it is a shoe. Yeah, Frank is great. Yeah, Uncle Jack's good too, but yeah. And what's your favorite scene?
My favorite scene is the sale.
Really?
Frank and Dee trying to make the sale.
Wow.
It's just
okay.
like such a quick moving thing, like the whole like disparaging of the knife, like the cutting, and then Dee just pouring wine on the lady's floor. Like it's a real like what the fuck.
And like laying on the chicken, like laying it on, like
yeah, and then
cooking
like
up chicken.
Frank,
House
like,
of smoked chicken.
Frank trying to hang himself at the end of that is just like I didn't see it coming, and it hits me every time. It's like that escalated so quickly.
I think my favorite scene is the realization at the end. Scene. Like when they're talking about what they did that day and just being like, Mac, I don't understand how this works. How does this work? Like there's like the panic of like what are we doing here? Like,
yeah.
And what is your favorite line of dialogue?
Favorite line of dialogue might be have some class if you're going to be poor.
I mean, it's a good one. It's a good one. But I think I'm going to go with it sounds wrong, but I don't know enough about stars to dispute it.
Yeah, that's a good one too. That's one we use in real life, so it's a fun one.
All right, and that brings us to our next segment, which is the IMDb Trivia Challenge. This, of course, is 3 trivia facts from the website IMDb. 2 of them are made up by me. One of them is real, that is on the website that anyone can click on and look at and read. And the other 2 are made up by me. Ross, guess the one that is on the website. Number 1. Charlie Day and Mary Elizabeth Ellis met at a Dave & Buster's. Number 2. This is the second appearance of Uncle Jack. Number 3. Frank's RV is the same RV from Breaking Bad.
This is Uncle Jack's second appearance.
That is correct. This is Uncle Jack's second appearance.
You know why I chose that one? Because IMDb doesn't have real good trivia. And that's like as
right.
good as they could do.
Not only like that's barely trivia,
Yeah.
and it's the only thing it said. That's the only trivia it had was that one thing.
Really?
And yeah,
we had a whole housing recession talk. We had you know stimulus. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I didn't even talk about that pertain to this episode.
The trivia on the IMDb, the trivia on the Always Sunny wiki has a lot more stuff.
Oh, anything good?
Most of the stuff we were going to talk about anyways. That's why just the Bernie Madoff Ponzi scheme stuff. How the things that Charlie pulls up are not crabs. They're crayfish. Stuff like that, like stuff I was gonna talk about anyways, basically.
Yeah. Okay.
So, So Ross, that brings us to our final thoughts. Ross, if you're looking for a better episode of television in a Philadelphia setting, you are shit out of luck. Or should Always Sunny streamline this season and fire this episode?
I'm gonna go with the first. You know, it's gonna be harder to find a comedic series with in a Philadelphia setting.
Yeah, it's like this episode is like this episode doesn't get the credit it deserves.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it sure doesn't. It's a banger.
And too, real quick on that Uncle Jack thing too. We haven't seen Uncle Jack since the season finale of season 1.
Yeah,
is that crazy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
season 1. He comes back in season 5.
That seems like a long time, actually. You know, and we haven't seen the McPoyles in a while. I feel like.
Oh yeah, the McPoyles haven't been around in a while. Yeah, you're right. And you know what's strange too about this episode is you almost think the shantytown Cricket's gotta be showing up, right?
Yeah, like Cricket could have been there. I feel like McPoyles they already own an RV.
Yeah. But yeah, this episode is so funny. Like it flies by. It's just a fun episode, and the product placement is so strange. It makes it stand out.
Yeah, I think it's a lot funnier with the product placement.
And obviously, this episode of Always Sunny Cast is brought to you by Coors.
That's right. You know, drink your bullets safely and responsibly.
Drink your bullets.
You know, if you feel like you need a drink, go ahead and pull the trigger and grab a silver bullet.
If that mountain is blue, you know it's locked in coldness.
You know, tap the Rockies.
Yeah. I was gonna say tap the Rockies, but I couldn't remember if that was something different.
I think tap the Rockies is for the Coors brand, but not necessarily Coors Light. I don't know how they do that. Like break and subdivide the business.
They all why do all these beer companies need nicknames and like stuff like Bud? This Bud's for you.
I don't know.
Tap the Rockies. Like,
Tap the
I don't know.
Rockies
Tap
is
the
the
Rockies.
funniest.
There's beer in the Rocky Mountains.
It flows right out of the mountain. You just stab the mountain.
Ross,
like
what
a maple
episode we
tree.
got going on next time?
Okay, next episode we have the gang gives Frank an intervention. This is a blowout. This is an amazing episode. What can we expect from this episode?
We can expect Gail the Snail.
That's right. We can expect an intervention, of course.
Yeah, we expect an intervention. We can expect Frank getting real weird with it.
That's right. He roasts a bone at a funeral.
This is where we get the term roast a bone, and this is a term I use all the time. Like, I can't call a joint, like, it's either a joint or a bone. Like, oh, you want to roast a bone? Like, it's such a, block the wind, I'm going to roast this bone. We got a funeral.
I like how they, at the beginning of that episode, Frank sells it like they're going to like a party or something in the park.
Yeah.
It's your Uncle Max's funeral.
And they're all dressed like
they're going to the
like
beach.
The beach or something. Yeah, it's so funny. I cannot wait for Gil the Snail.
She's awesome, Mary Lynn.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to talk about. Yeah, this is another banger episode.
Yeah.
It truly is.
That's why I think this episode, the recession, gets so buried.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna get the Frank's intervention where they tell the person with that's going to do the intervention to bring a gun. Well, Frank always has one, so
he just whips it out. So it's just safer if you have a gun.
All right, we can. Won't you join us next week? And thank you for listening, of course. And join us next week for that amazing episode. I mean, this whole season we're about to go on an insane streak.
Oh yeah, we're in the thick of it. I mean, last season and this season,
yeah,
I think we're in like its prime.
Not
to say that there aren't amazing seasons and episodes beyond.
Oh, of course,
but like right now, it's heating up.
And like we're about to hit the dentist system, and then we're gonna hit my personal favorite, Mac and Charlie write a movie. I cannot wait. I cannot wait for Mac and Charlie write a movie.
Yeah, I mean, shit.
Oh man, it was the security guard instead. I could do that episode without. I could do that episode without like watching or taking notes. I bet.
I say that. I say that for like instead all the time.
Yeah, something instead. Yeah,
I work that into anything just because it's like instead of what? Like.
Well, yes. Join us next week where we're going to talk. Frank gets an intervention and
good
day to you. Like
tourist attractions in Philadelphia include Philadelphia's Magic Garden,
computer,
Fairmount Park,
computer,
Laurel Hill Cemetery.
Off.
The Always Sunny cast is in no way endorsed or affiliated with It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, the FXX network, or Philadelphia. The views and thoughts expressed in this podcast are of Eric Regan and Ross Northrup. If you enjoyed this podcast as much as we enjoy making it, please subscribe, rate, review, and pass it on. If you'd like to reach out, you can email us at alwayssunnycastpod@gmail.com or stay in touch with us by following our Instagram account at the Always Sunnycast Pod. We'll see you next time.